Recording. Three, two, one, go.
Hello, hello. This is Ignacy Trzewiczek from Portal Games.
And Corey Thompson from Dice Tower Dish, Above Board TV, all sorts of things.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 340, and we're recording it on October 24th, 2024. Board Games Insider is proud to be powered by Board Game Geek. Gentlemen, the band is back together. It is so good to see you all. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. I just rushed into the office to record this episode because I spent today a day with my daughter and we were at
Aw,
the book fair, one of the biggest book fairs in Poland. I bought
Nice.
a ton of science fiction and fantasy novels, two backpacks of books. So, and now I record the podcast and I go home to rearrange my shelves. We all love this part of our hobby to rearrange either a game shelf or bookshelf. So I'm gonna have amazing, amazing evening today.
that's amazing. So, yeah, thank you for being here. I know you literally told us I needed 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes to get here in time from your little bit of local traveling. So, thank you for
That's
being with
fantastic.
us. And so tell
Awesome,
us
thank
what's
you.
really happening over at Portal Games because big things post Essen, right?
Yes, so what's happening? Our Essen releases already released in America. And you can grab them at your local game store or directly from Portal Games USA, our website. The last release of a year for American market will be Thorgal. It was pre-released at Essen for the European market. It had a release in Poland last week, and for the America, we have a 3-date set for November 14th. So please check out Thorgal. Spoiler alert, and I think it may be even the first time in the history of the podcast that I'm saying that I'm already sold out. So basically,
Hmm.
uh, uh, and uh, and additional information. I don't know if this is not maybe too confidential, but whatever. We are recording this podcast for long. So most of the print run is sold out to Canadian distributors because French-speaking people and Forgal is a French comic book. And there's a
Oh,
lot of
Nice.
gamers who know the comic book and who wants to play the game. So of course some American distributors also of course ordered the game. But basically I'm in a very good mood with this game. Uh, we knew that we are going to America with the game based on the comic book that nobody read in America. And then suddenly Canada said, but we read the comic book, we know the book, we want the game. So if you are looking for the game, it's amazing, amazing Euro game with a great story added to it. Please ask your local game store to be sure that they pre-order from the distributors because the print run is small. We are now in this very awesome moment in the company that we are discussing. Should we do a quick print run? Are we moving stock from Europe to America to fulfill the demand? Great problems to have. Just reporting that.
But
I
but
love.
but yet a problem.
Yes, exactly. So this is what's happening with Thorgal. So please check out Portal Games website to learn more about the game. Look for the reviews on the YouTube. Very, very good stuff. And of course, I should mention, I don't have it with me right now in the office, but I should mention my book, Board Games That Tell Stories 3, arrived to our warehouse in Florida this week. So all of you who pre-ordered the book, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And you should get a notification that the book is sent to you. And for all of you who are waiting, my third book, I'm official writer of trilogy of books, is officially released. So grab it. Lots of fun essays about game design, about gaming in general, some reviews of games, crazy stuff. My book finally in America as well. And the last piece of news, and I'm finishing closing, but yesterday, Wednesday, Imperial Miners, our last year release, made it to the Steam. And by Steam, I mean the platform
oh,
for video games, for the PC
cool.
games. So this is the first app we
Nice.
ever did for the Steam. So if you are using Steam, if you are using PC, if you want to have a lunch break at your office and play Imperial Miners on your PC, it is available. Yeah, so go somewhere, find it somewhere. I don't know how you'll find it, but it's there. It is also available for Android and the Apple. But the big news for my company is that for the first time, Portal Games made it to the Steam. That's all, folks. Lots of good news happening. No, one more thing.
One more. I
Because
see it. I see it.
because there was not enough Slavic Ignacy today. So I want to report
Okay.
that at Essen I got COVID.
Oh
And
no.
this is
Oh,
my miserable part of the news, and now I'm fulfilled. Now we can move on.
Oh man.
it's because you do not take good enough care of yourself, and that would mean drinking beer. So
I'm
I'm giving you the way of do I get COVID? I travel much more than you. Do I get COVID? No.
each year I'm more and more convinced that you might be right.
So, by the way, I'm not your doctor. And if I was a doctor, no, I'm not a doctor. And if I was your doctor, do not take medical advice from me. But drinking beer, hey, or wine, or single malt
Uh,
scotch.
Speaking about your strategy, Mary did not get COVID.
There you go, Mary and me. We go out, we
Yeah,
hang out, we drink
yeah,
some wine, we drink some beer, we drink. That's very good.
yeah.
Okay, Corey,
Sounds
take us
right.
away,
Sounds
man.
right. So I am actually home.
Whoa. He's home
I
finally.
know.
So
I'm
how
in
long was the trip?
California.
How long
I
was the
think
trip from
I think
leaving your
about
home?
it was about 5 weeks.
Nice.
Poser.
So I went to, yeah, poser. I went to Iceland, to Finland, to Germany, to Washington, D.C., to Florida. And
Nice.
the last bit of it, of course, I went to Florida. Can't go to Florida without visiting Stephen.
Uh,
We played games. We had an absolutely amazing time.
might
It was really fun.
might
I
have
had a great
drank a
time.
little beer. No COVID was
Might have
reported.
drunk a little beer. No, but I did have a meeting with Ignacy during Essen, and we were just talking about one of the people in our group didn't have COVID but was unwell, and Ignacy pulled out a little pharmacopoeia and had available any kind of medication I might need. So I'm really surprised that COVID got through. But now back in California, taking care of home business, playing a couple games with the family. We, of course, brought out fishing and duck and cover, which were two of my favorites from Essen.
Yep.
And I'm heading soon to BGG Dallas in a couple weeks. That's
Awesome.
going to
Oh,
be
I envy
November
you.
13th. Um,
Amazing.
Also, Above Board TV is going. This is an exclusive. We're going to be involved in the 12 games of Christmas with the Dice Tower. So we'll see. We'll do something exciting for that.
Oh, that's nice.
Awesome.
And yeah, I think that's the excitement on my end. My brain is still in 14 other time zones. I don't know what day or time it is, and I'm
Thank
pretty
you.
sure there's 100 things I haven't done.
Thank you for being here in the crazy time that you have to make it to accommodate everybody's time zone. So over here at the Podfather of Gaming, this we missed last week, as everybody knows, I assume.
It's
So I haven't
Steven's
even,
fault.
and it was partly my fault.
I think it was all your fault.
It was all my fault. And
Yeah.
we haven't talked about the crazy hurricanes that in Florida since then. So we survived Milton, which was a huge to-do down here. But as Ignacy and I talked before we actually got on the air here, Florida is one big D of a state. And therefore, you can fill in the blanks on that four-letter word. If something that hits Tampa, which was basically a direct hit at Tampa again, does not affect South Florida. However, it did affect us on some level because pretty darn close to us, there were huge tornadoes. And we don't get those here. So that was very weird. We had two confirmed EF3 tornadoes. That's like Kansas level stuff. But everything is fine here. Thank God nobody that I know was badly affected. Some people did have to move out of their homes because of no electricity, and Florida is almost out, not livable when you don't have air conditioning. So that kind of stuff. I hope everybody's okay. Otherwise, last week, as Corey mentioned, we were hanging out together with a bunch of other people, just gaming up in Orlando. Played some great releases out of Essen. The two that come to mind in particular are Fishing from Freedom and Freeze 2F, and a game called Space Missions, which I don't remember the name, but essentially you're playing out the the space agencies from the 1960s, and you start in like 1961 and you end in 1969, though you could end early if someone lands on the moon and successfully brings their astronauts back. Really interesting, of course, extremely up my alley thematically. Pretty darn good game too. I think it's a must buy for me. Space Missions. I sadly don't know the publisher. It was a very small publisher, I
The
believe.
publisher is Tyros Games, and it's by designer Frank Mueller.
Thank you so much for filling that in. So Paul and I will be home through Halloween. We always have a fun thing we do up here in Halloween, dress like pirates and put out candy and beer and wine for the adults who come by with their kids. It's great. We're going to go from there the next week going to Lobster Trap. First time I'm going there. That's in
I'm
Boston.
really jealous. That's an amazing convention.
I can get you an invite if you want. But anyway, it's going to be great. I mean, I'm really going because Craig Massey and I have become really good friends. Craig now runs the Gathering Friends, and he's been running Lobster Trap for many years. So I'm going to be going that. Hang out in Salem with the witches for a couple of days, then go directly from there to BGG Con, where I again see Corey. That should be great. So hopefully everybody who's going to be at BGG Con and Lobster Trap will say hello. And then home for Thanksgiving, and then PAX Unplugged, and then Christmas with the family back in New Jersey. So that's kind of it.
I'll be at PAX Unplugged also. We have
Wow.
to try to do a show and not miss it at either
We will-
BGG or PAX.
We will do shows at both of those conventions. They'll be less busy than the last thing when we missed it. So that's it for me. Let's get over to the event deck. All right, so we have some people on the move. Very good friend Sara Erickson left Renagade Games and is heading over to Keymaster Games in the new role of wholesale manager. Sara Erickson is a game industry veteran with over a decade of experience. She worked for companies such as Yellow USA, Cryptozoic, Renagade Game Studios, where she was the vice president of sales and marketing. Erickson also has owned Rook Games and more in Montana for over 18 years. That's a retailer, a lovely shop. If you happen to be in, I forgot the big city there. It's the one with that funny name. I forgot the name of the city. Okay, whatever. If you're in Montana, look up Rook Games. It's a great place. And then at Keymaster, makers of the Park series of games, she will help the company better connect retailers with the company's distributors, as well as assist on orders and increase retailer awareness of the Keymaster brand. Congratulations to Sara. She's really a wonderful person.
I would say congratulations to Keymaster Games, because we said it many times in this podcast, and I say it once again with my all Slavic honesty. Sara Erickson is one of the best people in the industry by far. This is me being like super Slavic honest. She's amazing. So for Keymaster to have such a hire, guys, congratulations. And congratulations, of course, to Sara for the new position. This is a big news. Like we sometimes say about people in the move, changing companies, but Sara is one of the people in the industry.
Amazing. And Rook Games is, of course, in Bozeman, Montana.
Bozeman.
Which is a city that my fifth great grandmother founded.
Wow.
Your grandmother founded?
Fifth great grandmother, yeah.
Great grandmother. Okay.
Oh my God.
In Bozeman, Montana.
I'm gonna go look that one up. I have to call bullshit. I can't say that word. Anyway, so the next thing we have is a very interesting story. It comes out of our friends over at Board Game Wire, which do like not lots of great deep dives into news.
Yeah.
And this one, they're talking about the FunForge selling of the Takaido line to Stonemaier Games, and they basically asked Board Game Wire asked them, did it save the company? And Corey, what was the FunForge CEO's answer to this?
So FunForge CEO Philippe Naura um, basically said, well, yes and no. It helped for the moment, but also long term added more unexpected costs and things like that. So, of course, the history is that FunForge had a number of games that had Kickstarter fulfillment and financial problems. They were more than $250,000 in unexpected costs that came up during the pandemic. The Kickstarter for Monumental had big problems. So what they did is they sold the line Takaido, Namiji, and Takaido Duel to Stonemaier Games, which I think is a very natural fit. So it's a really interesting long article that I can't really summarize too much, but it's a yes and no. It both helped out FunForge tremendously, but also forced a restructuring of the company.
Yeah, I don't think that FunForge, based on what his statements are, is out of the woods. You know, they're
No.
still treading a little bit of water there, trying to figure out where they go from here. But certainly, it's going to. You know, this must have been a fairly significant sale, fairly to Stonemaier.
Yeah.
So they're going to get some money in. Hopefully, they can survive. You know,
Yeah,
for the long term.
because yes, if I may,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
we may easily compare to situation that hopefully it is not happening, but Portal has some issues, and I decide, okay, so I will sell Robinson Crusoe to someone else, and I'm hoping that company will grow without this title. So I guess if we make a poll in the internet or on a Board Game Geek, what game you know FunForge for, people would ask Tokaido. Like this is their
Sure.
powerhouse. This is their evergreen.
And
You think
yeah.
FunForge, you see Tokaido. So now I guess I understand this news that now they get the cash to survive, to build up, but they are losing their powerhouse. They're losing the game that was making
And
most of the income, right?
we've
Hmm.
seen this over and over. North Star Games sold Wits and Wagers, and even way back Mayfair sold Catan. So we've seen a lot of companies sell off one of their IPs or several of their IPs for major money usually. But the good news on this is FunForge is continuing with fulfillment of Monumental, which was in limbo for a while. So the company's taking one of the other titles and delivering.
Very, very cool. So my next article here is one of we have people moving in the industry and we have moving people out of the industry, so to speak. Steve
No,
Horvath.
they are moving to the Steven Bonacor fan club of being fun on retirement. Like let's
That's
call this club. This is official club of people who make a right decision in life.
it's the fun club.
Yeah.
Become part of the fun club. Make sure you make enough money to be in that fun club and then
Wow.
join the fun club. Um, so Steve Horvath, who's been in the industry for over 25 years, has decided to retire from AsmaDay. And let me read a little bit from ICV2. Steve Horvath, the global head of publishing at AsmaDay Group, has retired as of October 1, 2024. Horvath served as head of publishing and later global head of publishing for over 6 years, starting in 2018. He had spent over 17 years total of his career with Fantasy Flight Games and AsmaDay Group. Prior to that, he was with Sabretooth Games as their CEO. Horvath's career, and at WotC as associate brand manager. All totaled up, Horvath's career lasted over 25 years in the game industry. His retirement was made public via his LinkedIn page. Quote, after a long and successful career, I've made the decision to retire. I am not looking for a new career or any jobs. He sounds like me. Like, all right, guys, no, this is it. I am actually
Yeah, but
going
you
to
failed
retire.
at that entirely.
Depends on what work means to you, sir. But I got to know Steve more from after after I retired. I got to know him more. I had met him very briefly, and then when I sold my game to AsmaDay, I got to meet him and speak to him about the future of the publishing and stuff like that. So Steve's a great guy, very knowledgeable, and it's wonderful to hear that he's now happy and going to retire.
Very cool.
Mythic Games. Almost files for liquidation. That's
Well,
interesting.
it's a really interesting story because what happened first is a whole bunch of news outlets reported that Mythic Games had gone into liquidation. And this wasn't a big surprise. Mythic Games has been in trouble for a while, all the way back to joint ventures with Monolith, their release of Joan of Arc, which ended in lawsuit, and Joan of Arc had to be pulled, and then Mythic famously kind of imploded and fired their entire UK and US staff a couple years ago. So, of course, our friends at Board Game Wire dug into this in more depth, and Mythic Games has not gone into full liquidation, but it is pretty darn close, and its fate should be decided by the end of the month. There's also weird laws involved with French companies. If they actually go into bankruptcy or liquidation, they have to sell off inventory to pay off creditors. So I think there would be a lot more news if they actually went into liquidation. So, Board Game Wire says financially stricken French board game publisher Mythic Games has not been liquidated despite a string of poorly researched reports flying across the internet. And I won't lie, I had one of the poorly written reports as our news story for this week, but I'm glad that Mike over at Board Game Wire has corrected it. But the company expects to know by the end of October if its situation is indeed hopeless. So, Mythic has raised more than $12 million across its 6 most recent crowdfunding campaigns, so they have good things. The most famous right now is Darkest Dungeon. They also had a Viking survival game, Hell, and of course they had a Kickstarter for Six Siege, the board game, which had a lot of trouble delivering. So Mythic's been a bit of a roller coaster, and I think everybody kind of expected Mythic to have some problems.
It's astonishing when I see these numbers that people cannot, I hate to say it so bluntly, get their act together and produce games and deliver games. It's, for somebody as dumb as me to have done it for so long, it's not rocket science. I mean,
exactly my thoughts.
You can do this if you put some smarts around it, and you bring some good people in and you fill in the holes of knowledge that you may not have. So it's amazing. $12 million, $12 million in revenue.
So many issues, both internally and externally. And the company kind of became famous for asking for more money on Kickstarters.
Yep.
So Six Siege specifically, I think 2 or 3 separate times asked for more money or else they couldn't deliver.
Very interesting. So, Corey, I think you also put this one in here too. It's regarding Atlas Games, and it's the text of Ars Magica.
This was Ignacy.
Oh, Ars Magica. Ignacy, tell us about this story.
So, Ars Magica is one of the most famous old school role-playing games. 80s, we are talking early 80s. And Ars Magica is right now on a Kickstarter with this final edition, and it is a very interesting story. We will not go deep into that because we are a board games podcast, but they said this is Ultimate Edition. We are not planning any more editions, and most of us will say, okay. In 5 years you will do another Ultimate Edition. But they say this is Ultimate Edition, and you are making the whole game open source. Like this is the final rule book, the final rules, the final edition, which I backed and which is very expensive, I have to mention. So I spent a lot of money on this final edition, but I did. And in these all these updates and when they show the stretch goals, they just unlock in the stretch goals all the previous expansions open source. You can do whatever you want with this old expansion, and you can do whatever you want with this world. And they are just unlocking content after content after content, saying this ultimate book, buy this book, and then do whatever you want with this game. You can publish it, you can do whatever you want. And I think that this is so cool, and we didn't see this in the industry before when they say ultimate and now it's free. This is like so cool moment that they say
that's awesome.
We celebrate.
I like this particular quote from or their FAQ on the Atlas Games atlas-games.com website. It's they're asking questions that they answer as an FAQ will, and
Yeah.
it says, can you tell me if something specific I want to do is okay with your open game license? No, sorry. We encourage you to read all of the extensive Creative Commons documentation about the license and its use, linked below, and to seek your own legal counsel as necessary if you still have questions. In other words, do your research. If you want to use things from this, it is an open license, but you can't plagiarize it still. It's for use within their world, and
Yeah.
very interesting.
Go check it out. The First of all, Asmodee is one of the best role-playing games ever. The new edition looks absolutely stunning. It's really it feels like Ultimate Edition, along with the price. And then and then check out all the things they unlocked for the creators, for the fans, for everyone. Amazing, amazing project, very interesting. But it's role-playing game, so we can move on to the board game stuff.
No problem.
Well,
Let's get over.
definitely of the three of us, you're the expert on the role-playing games by far.
For those of you who watch this podcast on Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel, you may see that my video looks very weird with the very weird stuff behind me. Yesterday I played a role-playing game session in this room, and this is part of decoration. And believe me, when the lights are off, it looks very, very cool. But right now it's very creepy. But it was part of decoration of the whole room we played
Very
in the
nice.
I love
i-
it, man.
That is very cool. And you need better lighting anyway on your face.
that's true.
Show us your pretty face. All right, let's get over now to strategy and tactics. So Ignacy, we saved some questions for you for your next time you're going to be with here. And our buddy Kurt van Hooyveld, who's Vitruvian Gamer on BGG from Belgium, he says, at Ignacy, at the time of posting this question, Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island Collector's Edition is on the boats heading toward the destination. We all know this project has been everything but a success, mostly because of external factors, but because of these problems and delays, people started rating the game with a bunch of ones, 54, giving it an average 3.1. I'm pretty sure this rating will be set straight as soon as this version gets played, but I was wondering, how does this project influence Portal Games as a publishing company? And Ignacy, what did you do to face this as a human being? Does it feel bad? Some people literally called you a liar. Now, yeah, which is really uncool. What would you do differently next time as a project with that has these kinds of struggles?
I have the impression I answered this question already. It is not the case. Maybe it was a different interview.
Maybe a different one. Maybe.
Uh,
But I know you did. You did from somebody else, without a doubt.
so, how does the project influence Portal Games? It has a huge influence on us. First of all, there is no planned crowdfunding campaigns for upcoming years. So it was a very difficult project for us, and we don't want to go in this road again. For sure, we lost trust of the backers for years. So when Portal Games announces new crowdfunding campaign, we will have so much hate that nobody trusts us anyway. So it was the reputation we were building with a Stronghold campaign, Pret-a-Porter campaign, all the previous campaigns ruined by Robinson Crusoe. So this is absolutely disaster. On my personal level, even yesterday in the night, if for those of you who follow me on Twitter, even yesterday in the night, I was still arguing with backers who are furious at me, and they are right so. And I was very angry at them because I cannot help with the problems at this very point. So on my personal level, I was contacted on every single platform, social media, and attacked by angry backers, and they are right. They are angry. They don't have a product. They want some answers. So the fact that I cannot give these answers doesn't change the fact that they want the answers. So yeah, it was very difficult project for us. We learned a lot. If we do another Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign in the future, for sure it will be designed in a way with less stretch goals, less partners, less everything. Much simpler. I think it matches perfectly to the news that we discussed a few minutes ago about the problems with a French publisher. Like when you run a Kickstarter, when you start announcing these stretch goals, when you get excited, when you promise and you overpromise, and then the campaign stops, and you have to deliver. And many companies fail, and my company also failed in this regard. Anyway, it's almost done. We are only waiting for Brazilian backers to finally get their copies, and Portuguese backers, I think, maybe they already have it, and it's done. It will be the not very bright part on the pages of the history of Portal Games, but very important. We learned a lot, and so I have a couple of successes in my career, and I have my first Martians or Robinson Crusoe as well. And it's part of the life, and I appreciate both highlights and downsides.
Kurt also goes into Imperial Miners and how big of success that was in the portfolio with different language versions, with many different language versions. Congratulations. How does that process go exactly? Is Portal Games offering their games to potential foreign partners, or do they contact Portal Games? Is translating the game into a different language a collaboration with that partner, or do they do all the work? So tell us a little bit about
The
how
process, right?
the process of getting a game into many other languages
So
generally.
this is a great question for our podcast. Like we educate how the industry working. So each of the publishers has standard loyal partners. For me, for instance, Yellow. When we do a game in French, Yellow will do French edition. For Steven back then, Friedman Friese, we knew that Stronghold Games will bring Friedman Friese to America because we were partners, strategic partners. So each of us have these strategic partners. For me, once again, for Italy market, I have Pendragon Games. So this is one thing. So the first step is when we have a new game, when we have even a prototype of the game, we meet at Essen, at Nuremberg, or maybe sometimes in a different occasion, and we show to our partners, hey, this is what we have new. It will be released in 2 years. We guess you are interested because you're a partner. And in most cases, they say, yes, obviously we'll do a local edition. And depending how you grew your company, you may pull out 3 additional language editions or 6 language editions or like 20. Of course, depends how big your company is. For us, for my company, most of games that we release, like I have 6 languages covered. Like I know Polish, English, German, French, Italian, Spanish, done. Easy peasy. And then, of course, I have a licensing manager, the full-time employee, Veronica, whose job is to bring in more partners that are not our super loyal for every project, but they're looking for different projects. And that's why for some games we have 6 languages, and for some games like Imperial Miners, 14, because Imperial Miners was super easy to grasp by the partners. It was beautifully produced. It has a very good price for the publishers to publish their local edition. So it was a great game with a great production value, with a great business model, and hence we have 14 languages. So yeah, so this is basically each company or most companies have a dedicated person who is in touch with partners in different countries and looking to sell these 1,000, 2,000 copies for particular markets. I hope I explained that.
You
Sure.
did very good, and I wanted to mention a couple of things since obviously I was part of this whole process back in the day. That for Stronghold Games, we went out to publishers, small ones especially, right? Who we wanted to get their game hotness. We wanted to really get it. So we would immediately go out at Essen and we'd scope out everything that was going on, and we would then go and meet with them at Essen and make a deal if it made sense to do so. And then, of course, some came to us and said, "Hey, we got this game," and we meet with them. So there's a back and forth in that regard. And of course, then we had the 2F Spiel like strategic partnership where we would be basically doing every one of their games, bringing them to the US market and North American market in general. I want to mention AsmaDay, which is a very interesting thing. Now, AsmaDay owns all these distributors, right,
Yeah.
across the world. And guess what? Do you know that their distributors do not have to take a game in the local language if they don't want to? That is so odd to me. As they're part of the same group, right? The AsmaDay group. They own the AsmaDay Germany, the Estevium in the UK,
AsmodEE Poland.
AsmaDay Poland. They have all of these companies. However, the people in charge of the company, of that subsidiary, we'll call it, gets to know about the game, and then they say, I don't want to do it. Or, yeah, that sounds good. I'll take 1,000, 10,000 copies, whatever the number may be. I've always found that weird that AsmaDay
Well,
doesn't say.
historically, Asmodee had all of these separate companies that they allowed to run independently. Sometimes they would even compete against each other. They're kind of restructuring all that in Europe right now and turning it into one big friendly Asmodee. But especially Asmodee Europe was a lot of independent companies doing their own thing.
Yeah, I mean that's it. But they are all owned by AsmaDay, which is very
True.
interesting. So it's just a model that I've always found to be interesting, that they don't force, air quotes, like to take a modicum, a small amount of any one title. They don't. Vincenzo Alvarello, who's Zacco Soldi. Hey, Vincenzo, good friend. Thinking about awards, how are the categories determined where things get nominated? For example, do publishers submit for Kinderspiel, Spiel, and Kennerspiel? So I guess he's talking about the big German awards. Or are these determined by a jury of nominators? How does it vary by award? So multiple awards. I would think if you could pick which category you get to be nominated in, you'd go Spiel, for example, since that gets the most press and sales. Corey, you know some about this. Why don't you talk?
Unfortunately, it's the standard answer that every one of these is different. As far as I know, Spiel is nominated by a committee. However, there are a lot of awards out there that the publishers will self-nominate. They'll send and say, I think this should win this award. And there's even a few where publishers pay to be nominated for an award. And that's much more prevalent in the video game and video industry. But there's a whole business around paying to be considered for an award.
Right. Yeah, the Spiel is the very special one, right? We have a committee, right? But they go and they basically they games get sent out to so many people for testing, and then they get rated by these testers, and then that information comes back, and then the committee chooses a winner based on all of that feedback. So it's the most structured, the most important, certainly, the award that you really want to win, especially if you're a German publisher.
And I think that they
Spiel.
decide the category for you, and it's usually pretty clear.
Yes.
When they pick a children's game, it is very clearly a children's game. And
Absolutely.
I know that Spiel tends to go to family-friendly, lighter games, but it's very clear that there is a children's game and there is a family-friendly, light game that is not a children's game.
Exactly.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
Just a small addition. Polish Game of the Year 2 years ago, we have like scandal is too big word. Please use an English word that is less important than scandal. But there was a situation.
Controversy.
Perfect. That is the word. So the award was working like that. The publishers submitted the game for the different categories. Publishers pick the best-selling game, the most important, the game that they hope to win, and they submit it to every single category, so they have a bigger chance to win. And then there was a list of nominees announced, and then you have one game that is nominated for the best game in a family section, and the expert game in a thematic game. It is the same game. And that proved that it is not the best way that the publisher themselves nominated themselves to different categories, because we publishers want to get these awards and we will hack the system. So if I can give advice to all other people who make awards, don't give publishers to mess with your...
And one of the big issues we've had in the past is a lot of the awards have too many categories. And there's been restructuring of awards each year, usually towards less categories. Things like Dice Tower Awards, Origins Awards, BGG Golden Geek Awards. They've historically been a lot of categories.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. Ron Graves from Canada, he's at Buckaroo. Do you know of any game that has a good mechanic to determine the first player to start the game that isn't randomly pick the first player? I cannot think of the name of the game, but it has a selection of cards with starting resources that each player gets given two randomly, and each card has a number on it. Once they choose their starting resources, the player turn order is determined by the number on the card. That is interesting. Lowest, then second lowest, etc. That is a clever way to do an initial turn order. Otherwise, the best method is usually to use a random selection app or dice rolling. Do you agree that the methods in a lot of these rule books are shite? See, I didn't curse. I said it's not a curse in American
Yeah,
English.
yeah.
And why do publishers include nonsense rules like the person that most recently visited Portugal or some other random country or something equally dumb? They do it because they believe that they are being
All
clever,
right.
knowing that most people will use a random method of their own choosing. God, Corey is dying to answer,
I
dying.
There's a lot here. First of all, I like the
Let's
stupid.
unpack this
Let's
situation.
unpack it.
I like the stupid random questions. They're funny. I know a lot of people who
I hate
always
them.
ask, "What's the random stupid question?" So it is popular. And that is if it actually is useful. It's a lot of times I really hate youngest player goes first because if you play with the same group all the time, it's always the same. Now,
No,
going back,
no. Me as a game designer, I need to unpack it even more.
okay,
This rule is the most stupid rule because let's assume that I play, my wife play, and my 12-year-old girl plays. So we expect as a game designer that this girl that has no clue what's happening has to be a first player. Like really, the youngest player most often knows the rules less, and we want them to
yeah,
start the game. Like this is stupid.
that is by far my least favorite. My favorite is alluded to actually in Buckaroo's description. There are several games out there that have a game component that shows first player. And there's boards, Captain Flip, you mix up the boards and send them out, and one of the boards has a mark on it, and that player goes first. There's a lot of games that have the cards where you, like he said, you send them out, and one of the cards says, "Hey, you're first." That's my favorite method, is to actually have a physical method in the box. It's not so much that there are really dumb ways to pick first player. It's more that you waste 10 minutes at the beginning of the game trying to figure out what
No.
method to use to
All
pick
right.
first player.
All right. The correct answer to this question is that you both are taking this too seriously, as is Ron. Just it
No.
usually says, the person wearing a blue shirt, whatever, some dumb thing. And yeah, I agree that they're weird. But then it says, or just pick a random player. So what we do
Yeah,
is often pick a random player. But I kind of like these silly little things.
I
Like,
like the silly rules, but some of them are horrible.
it's
Now,
clever. Some of them are just clever. They're just clever. And I like, yeah, that's cool. I personally think terraforming Mars, the last person to have been on Mars should go first. I think that's a great rule. And that will be the rule going forward when
That
I play
is
with you.
first
terrible.
of all, first of all, I want to congratulate Ron for asking the most controversial question of this episode. So the award goes to Ron. Then my
Now,
answer.
Oh, it's so
No.
good.
I'm not leaving this. So
okay.
because on a serious note, we have two types of the board games. One type of the board game, it doesn't matter who is the first player because the game is balanced. And then you have the games that when first player has some advantage and he has less resources, the second player got more resources. We have it, right? So if it doesn't matter who is the first player because the game is balanced, pick random in the app and don't give me these stupid, silly rules in the rulebook.
Nine.
If it matters who is the first player because he gets or she gets some advantage, the mentioned by Corey and by Ron solution that you have in the setup some bonus stuff and picking a first player you will get less of resources is great, smart, wise, and I approve it. I said it.
If
I,
this is a tournament,
We
you
will
use
not
a
finish
different
this episode.
you use a different rule if it's a tournament, if it really matters who wins this game. If it doesn't matter,
it
you
never matters.
well, it does. I mean, starting position does matter in games sometimes. But it's a game, and we're not competing for that much. What are we competing for? Proud, being proud of something. Anyway, Very interesting question. Thank you, Ron. Go
My
ahead. You
favorite goofy one, though, is
you won't shut up.
Surfasaurus Max is the first players whoever has the most experience in paleontology and surfing.
Amazing. Yeah, great. And then I'll make up a
Better than the
story.
last person to be
Oh.
on Mars.
That's a great
that's
one.
awful. It's
That is an
terrible.
amazing
That's just
one.
dumb. It's saying
Yes,
we're going to do a stupid question, but nobody can actually answer.
that's right. And then it says right after that, choose randomly. Done. All right. Right. Thank you, Ron. Great question. Let's get over to play testing. All right.
Ron has
Last week.
successfully Yoko Ono'd the group.
So last week, Corey, you asked a question. What was that question that you asked everybody?
I asked, what is the strangest, weirdest, or most different board game theme you've ever seen? Are you attracted to this theme, and are you attracted to themes that are very strange, weird, and different? And I have to say, I want to buy like 8 games off of these answers.
Yeah.
This is
a lot of games. Never heard
I
of
know
them.
a lot of games. I have played a lot of games, and this is the best list of things I've never heard of that I've ever seen.
Yeah. So Rick Fuss says weirdest theme I've seen has got to be psychic pizza deliveries go to the ghost town.
I've played that. That's great.
You have played that? Oh my God.
It's an all play title. It's an early all play.
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm attracted to strange, weird themes, but I will say that I will more likely give a game a look if it has a less trodden theme. And
I gotta point out, Christian K at Mumelman listed a Japanese game for me, and of course I'm instantly interested. It's Tuare o Yogoshita Nawa Dareda, and it is a dexterity co-op game with a hidden traitor about someone who is soiling the toilet on purpose.
Oh my God. Oh,
I need this game. This is now number 1 on my must-get list.
Does this
and it's got a little plastic, like a little toilet board. It's great.
Does this like add to your best poop games list that you have?
I haven't played it yet. I do have a 10 best poop games, but I suspect it might make it on the list.
You have an anal fixation of some type, which is very disturbing.
I want to pick an answer from Adrian because he picked the game called Kolejka, which is a Polish game. And he said Kolejka was one of the strangest themes that I've come across. The game is all about queuing up in the communist era for stores that are empty. This is my life. This is my childhood. This is not a weird theme. This is my weird childhood because this is what's happening in my country back then. Yes, that was... The game is published by the Institute of History of Poland as a commercial project to show the history of the country. And so this is like a real facts. This is not a weird theme. This is the...
Kolejka has actually been on my must-have list for 4 years now. I have not been able to find a copy.
It was huge hit in Poland because of the theme, that lots of memories for us from the times of communism, and it was a legit game. It was a good game, and it had a huge promotion. So huge hit. But I just want to correct. This is not a weird theme. This is my childhood.
Let's say unique, special.
Yeah.
I want to call out Mike Walecki, who mentioned The Bloody Inn. I love this game, and the theming is that you're running an inn. When people come and stay at the inn, you can murder them. But if the body is left out, you get in trouble. So police may visit the inn, and you get in trouble if you have a body and there's a police at the inn. So you can bury the bodies under buildings, or you can just murder the police and then get a bigger pile of bodies.
Yeah, we played that game, didn't we?
It is so good. It's a fantastic card game.
I'll call one more out and it's a bit self-serving to Ignacy, or serving to us. And it's Adrian H and Kirk W both said full props to Ignacy for Pret-a-Porter. A game about going down as a runway model. Wow. I mean, you took a chance on that theme. That's insane for the mainstream market. And as a corollary to that one, Rococo, where you're a dressmaker.
Oh, Rococo's so good.
And I could have had that game, and when pitched to me, I'm like, I can't I can't sell this theme. Guess what? It was a pretty big game. So I should have
Yeah.
taken. So great stuff. Great stuff. Thanks for all those great
I
answers,
love
everybody out there.
all of these answers. I
They're
could just
great.
read out every single one of
Yeah.
them
I
because
mean,
I want them all.
I hope people go back to this and just read these answers because they're just so good. But let's move on to
Corey,
this week's. Go ahead,
no,
Ignacy.
just want to mention that Corey has a second place today as the best question. Like the best was from Ron, and then Corey for the last week question, the second place.
And of
There we
course,
go.
this week I'm asking the question, which is moderately okay. And I ask everybody, what motivates you, if anything, to spend money on travel to go to a gaming event? Is it getting the hottest, newest games like Gen Con or Essen? Is it playing games that you might not play locally? Right, they have events there that you can get into. Meeting designers and or other industry people at conventions. Having a good vacation that's also associated with your gaming event, with the gaming event. Meeting up with friends that you have made at previous events or something else. Gentlemen, I mean, obviously for us, it's a little bit different. I mean, for Ignacy, it's certainly different. But Corey, you and I don't
Mm.
have to go to gaming events.
But
Why?
I can
What?
ask.
Go
I can
ahead.
answer this question. Because when you mention at the very beginning of the show that you are going to BGGCon Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
I know what I felt, and I felt that I wish I was there. I got my memories of being in this old hotel because I know that BG is now moved to the different hotel, but I
Yep.
remember
Yes.
the older one, and I remember the games room. I remember playing with friends. I remember meeting with Jeff Anderson. So I have so many memories of hanging out with people I love, appreciate, playing with Eric Lang games. So definitely my answer is people, 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 because this is what was in my head when you mentioned that you are going to the convention. That was why I was missing it.
That is 100% my answer as well. It's not about getting the
It's the
newest
people.
games. It's always for me that I feel like, A, I'm with my people. I'm with people that have the same love of this hobby, one. And two, it's the people that I have met over time, friends now. All of them have become like friends to me. I might not even remember each meeting of somebody who comes up to me and say, "Hey, Barnacore, hey, great to see you again." And I just might not remember that person, but so many people I do, and we see each other and we say hello to each other. So
Yeah.
thank you
It
all out there.
it charges my battery going into a con and having people happy to see you. I mean that just makes me feel good and keeps me
Right.
going. And I take it even to one more extreme. I don't think I've been on board gaming cruises and never get off the boat. I've been to vacation spot hotels and never leave the hotel. I I just don't combine it with other vacation things. I go for the people and it doesn't matter where it is.
Very cool. Very cool. So right now, Ignacy is creating a thread
Oh
on
yeah,
Board
yes, I
Game
am.
Geek. He has to remember how to do this because he hasn't done it in so long.
I'm on it. Yes.
So please go to our guild on BGG and find our play testing thread, which Ignacy will put in the show notes afterwards. Remember to do that for this question and post your answer to it. In the meantime, let's get to the final scoring. Thank you so much for listening and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. Do you want to be part of this podcast? You can. Go over to our guild on Board Game Geek. First, become a member. Second, please answer our question that we've just posed to you for the playtesting segment and ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment. And this is so easy. Just go do it. We need more questions and we need more interactions with you. And on social media, interact with us there as well. And it's the same handle on all these platforms. So it's on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Board Games Insider, at Portal Games US, at Podfather Gaming, at Dice Tower Dish, at Play to Z Games, at Above Board TV, and at The Nerd About Show. Follow us on social media and speak directly to us on all those platforms. Check out the websites, which go by the same names, and a special call out to the great YouTube channels that we all put out there for you, which of course are Portal Games Studio, the Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. We would really love to see you in person at an upcoming convention. And those would be Lobster Trap for me, BGG Con, Corey and me,
Yep.
PAX Unplugged for
Yep.
Corey and me. And Ignacy, you got to fly to Poland in the
And
winter. I hear it's lovely.
yes, I am a special guest of honor at Allegramy in Gdańsk, beautiful city in Poland in November.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's
Very cool.
fantastic. Very, very good. You got to put that. You got to start talking about that. That's excellent. Go see Ignacy in Poland. That'd be great. Our podcast, Board Games Insider, professionally edited by Jake Thompson. Thank you, Jake, for being part of this team. And the great voice you hear doing the intro, the outro, and in between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. So, any special things? I have something that I'm going to hint at here. Play to Z Games will soon announce a strategic partnership with a major media group. And I will not mention any more, and I'm probably in trouble for saying just that. But who's going to yell at me, right?
It's not above board.
It is not above board. That would be a good one.
That would be a great one.
So, do you want to have one? We can talk.
We'll have a meeting. Call my people.
Call have your person call my person. There you go.
I don't know. My special end of show thing is not nearly as exciting.
What do you got? You got something?
Yeah, I was given a toy from my childhood, and anybody who is as gray and old as me will recognize it. This is super elastic bubble plastic.
Is that the thing that makes the ball bounce? It's like
It's
it
weird. Imagine an incredibly toxic bubble gum that you put on the end of a straw and blow up a bubble, and it just stays as a permanent bubble. It smells like chemical death. This should have gone away. But
I guarantee they did not have this in Poland because it was too toxic to put there.
We had kolejka in Poland.
You had what?
Kolejka lining up.
What
it's a Chinese knockoff.
Oh, okay. That's funny. Yes, I do remember that. And if you kind of breathed in a little bit, you would get this toxic crap into your lungs. It would
it was the best.
The best. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening and watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care.
See you, everyone.